Greetings and welcome back to another edition of Electric Avenue's YouTube updates. Thanks for joining me. We'll be running down today the new releases for August 18th, 2023. New things that have arrived in the shop, and there may be some new releases that I haven't got, but I'll try and mention it if it's something of note. So, anyway, thanks for joining me. I noticed that last week's video ran a little long, so let me try and make this one a little more brief so you can get on with your life, and so can I. So I think the big thing this week, thing that I'm probably most excited about because I've been waiting for this for years and I've had so many requests for it all the time. And from time to time we get used copies, but those are getting harder to come by, so this makes me very happy. Talking Heads, Stop Making Sense. And now this is not exactly the same as the original Stop Making Sense. You'll notice the cover is a little different. That is because this is a 2 LP remaster that has restored the entire concert. And before it sort of took out some things and excerpted some things so they could fit it on one record. So this is very exciting, I think. And it's a 2 LP, like I said. There's the track listing if you want to freeze frame that and look it up. But yeah, so it begins with Psycho Killer. I think everybody kind of knows that song. Heaven, an incredible song. So it's basically stuff up through Speaking in Tongues. So we get Burning Down the House, Slippery People, stuff like that, making Flippy Floppy. Then you get sort of Life During Wartime, which is This Ain't No Party, This Ain't No Disco, right? Once in a Lifetime. Genius of Love, the Tom Tom Club song is on here. It gets some respect. And Girlfriend is Better, Take Me to the River. Ends with Cross-Eyed and Painless. So if you like the early era of Talking Heads, probably one of the most critically acclaimed eras of any band in recorded history, I think this is for you. This is a kind of a no-brainer, and I can't wait to hear this, to hear what the remastered vinyl sounds like. But anyway, this is oh, it also has the booklet with the additional liner notes by all the band members. So, yeah, check that out. All right, and interestingly, we get 2 New York bands. Well, I don't know, it's in New York, that have sort of mixes of male and female, and both have sort of roots in punk, releasing reissues of live things today or tomorrow. And Sonic Youth. This is Brooklyn, New York, live August 12th, 2011. This is the last show that they ever played in the US. And it says, a triumphant and blistering bookend to a storied career of one of the most influential bands in rock music, featuring a unique and expansive 85-minute set list that chronicles their 3-decade-long career. And, well, features Brave Men Run in My Family and Death Valley 69 is the beginning. Kill Your Idols ends with Sugarcane, Psychic Hearts, and Inhuman. So I wouldn't hold my breath to say that Sonic Youth are ever getting back together. So this might be the next best thing. I'll hold this up, but I don't think you're going to be able to read that. You're probably going to want to look that up online and see what the track listing is, because it's hard to read. The big new release this week from a new artist, newer than those bands, I believe, is the new Hozier album. This is called Unreal Unearth, and this is his 3rd album. Very kind of grim looking cover. I guess there's a little hope there with a daisy, but and he's got good teeth. But anyway, and there's dirt in them teeth. The new album features Eat Your Young, Francesca, All Things End, and DeSelby Part 2. This is the indie retail exclusive light umber vinyl color. Hozier's an artist that really kind of took off out of the gate with the song "Take Me to Church" that was on his first record, and then the second record had a great lead single that featured Mavis Staples. And this album, I just am expecting big things. I mean, it's probably, it looks like it might be a little more concepty than the others, just the way the track listing is laid out. And there is a song with Brandy Carlisle, but he's got an incredible voice. I've always been impressed with his voice, and his songs are great too. So, hoping that that does really well, and can't wait to check it out. Some of these, I'm like, I know as little about these releases as you guys do, but I mean, at least I kind of know who the artists are. So, generally, Joe Strummer. We get another cool live record here, live at Acton Hall in London. This was from 2002, and it's been released on Dark Horse Records now, which is George Harrison's old label, and they have the rights to Strummer things now, the solo stuff. So this actually features some contributions from Mick Jones of The Clash, which is obviously Strummer's old band, and remastered audio. This is limited clear vinyl. The songs Mick Jones are on is on Bank Robber, White Riot, and London's Burning. This also features I Fought the Law, Police and Thieves, Police on My Back, Rudy Can't Fail, White Man, and Hammersmith Palais. So you're getting a lot of Clash songs here as well, which is kind of cool in 2002 to be hearing those things. A couple of Blue Note classic series we're getting this week. We get Cecil Taylor's Unit Structures, and this is sort of like free jazz mixes in a little like avant-garde classical type 1966, remastered by Kevin Gray at Coherent Audio as usual. I love this cover art. It's almost like Warhol-esque, you know. It's really kind of beautiful in a way. Maybe it was no, it was a cover design Reed Miles. But yeah, so this features Cecil and his sort of group of collaborators here: Eddie Gale, Stevens, Jimmy Lyons, Ken McIntyre, Henry Grimes, Alan Silva, and Andrew Cyril. And they're like two or three sort of long pieces there. And then the other one this week, because I usually release these in twos, is Anthony Williams' Spring. And this, I think, is a very difficult album to find, I would guess. This was recorded 1965, and it's 5 long tracks. I love that picture. It's great. Not as much writing on the back of this one. Featuring Wayne Shorter, Sam Rivers, Herbie Hancock, Gary Peacock, and Anthony on drums. And what a good group of musicians there. So, speaking of Herbie Hancock, this actually, I think, was released last week, but it sort of came in late, was Herbie Hancock's New Standard. And this is part of the Verve by Request series that Third Man have been pressing in Detroit. And this is a later album for Herbie. This was from 1996. And there's sort of the back there, featuring Herbie with Michael Brecker, John Schofield, Dave Holland, Jack DeJohnette, and Don Elias. And one thing I would say about this, I mean, he does cover songs. New York Minute, which is an Eagles song, Mercy Street. I mean, I guess I don't say Eagles. It might be Don Henley. Mercy Street, Peter Gabriel, Norwegian Wood, Beatles. Anyway, so you got sort of cover song. Love is Stronger Than Pride by Sade, even as All Apologies by Nirvana. Which is a very cool like set of things. These are very expensive. This was almost in the $60 range. So because they're double LPs, and I think that this series has done fairly well. Some people have complained that they have paper sleeves inside. When you're doing like audiophile, they should be doing better with that. It doesn't cost that much to put a polylined or something like that in there, but I don't know. I guess they'll say, well, just use your own. Another artist with a release on the Verve by Request series, same price point too. Wayne Shorter, Footprints Live. And so this also is a later album from Wayne, 2002. And there's a track list there. So they're both double albums. So they're not short or anything. This one actually features a Jean Sibelius classic piece, Valse Triste, that Wayne has done. All right, on to some other non-jazz things. Jack Harlow. This took a while to come out on vinyl. This is his Jackman exclusive tan color variant. I mean, he's sort of a hip hop personality. That's, I guess, kind of made it, or making it in movies, right? I think he was in White Men Can't Jump, the remake of that. Is that out yet? I didn't pay attention, but I mean, I saw he was in that. The OCs, or going by OCs on this record, their new release, Intercepted Message. That's quite a cover. Their covers are always interesting. They seem to have kind of abandoned the sort of orc-looking fantasy covers and gone more for something a little like sort of toned down, less, a little more graphic and a little less kind of comic booky. But I mean, I don't know. They're a band that I'm like, they do so many different things, it's kind of hard to keep up. And these albums are a little bit like more, they feel smaller, so maybe, and they're not as expensive. So maybe that's a consideration for them, is trying to keep costs down. This is not keeping costs down. Jean Baptiste, his new record, World Music Radio. I mean, of course, his label is not going to be cheap because it's Interscope, and he won Grammys last time. So they're like, well, you know, he's a star now. I mean, I guess he was sort of a star before, but more of a late night TV. Anyway, this features John Bellion, Kenny G, New Jeans, Fireboy, DML, Lana Del Rey, and more. Well, there's a couple here I know. Lana Del Rey, Kenny G, John Bellion. Indie retail exclusive baby blue color vinyl. So yeah, he won the Grammy, I think, last time for Album of the Year, maybe. And this is sort of, looks like, again, a sort of a mix of hip hop and jazz sort of stuff, but kind of in a pop way. Somebody who's a really incredible singer and artist, Rhiannon Giddens. This is she's had a fair amount of solo records now, but this is her first of original songs in a long time. It says the first original one with a full band in 6 years. One of the most lauded singers of the new millennium on Milky Clear vinyl. And I don't know, Rhiannon, she just has a very amazing voice. And so what an artist, too. I'm kind of interested to hear what some of her solo songs are like. So she's usually doing a lot of covers. I'm sorry, original songs. Tallest Man on Earth. I didn't really realize this was coming and that this was actually a new recording. This is a covers album that he's got out. Too Late for Edelweiss. So he had an album out sort of last year, and I don't know if he recorded these around the same time, but I don't know. I see Blood Bank, which I believe is like a Bon Iver song, but anyway, this is on Anti. So I don't know if that's the same label for him or not. Tallest Man on Earth. Another sort of jazz artist that I'm not super familiar with, but I like his name, is Cautious Clay. Cautious Clay, and this is his album Carpe, Karpeh, or Carpe. And on the back it says, special thanks to my mother, Titty Carpa, and father, William Dingus, as well as my Aunt Marita Dingus, for their spoken and visual contributions to this album. sort of a hip hop jazz kind of looking. It's on Blue Note, so I was kind of interested. Blue Note doesn't sign just anybody, so they must really believe in that and want to put some promotion behind it. This album came out a couple weeks ago, and I thought I had it on order, and for some reason I must not have, and it slipped by me, so I had to get it in. Willie Nelson's Teatro, and this is an album Willie did, I believe, in the late 90s, 98. And this album was very popular for him at the time, and it was produced by Daniel Lanois, who was also doing a lot of Emmylou Harris records at the time, and he'd already worked with like U2 and a bunch of other folks. But Lanois was also a solo artist, or is. He's sort of known for his very echoey, chiming sort of guitar sounds, and he sort of brought that for Willie on this record. So I don't know. This really did very well when it came out. It wasn't like a big radio hit, but it got a lot of critical acclaim. This is kind of interesting. We get a Grace Potter reissue of her album Daylight, and this is on indie record store exclusive yellow colored vinyl. Daylight was her last solo record, I believe, so it was out of print and 2019, and they're like, well, we're going to put a few more of those out there. The irony is that she actually does have a new album coming out called Mother Road, and which is like picture of mom jeans or something like that. I mean, maybe I'm assuming that maybe she had a child and is like talking about like being out on the road trying to perform, and I don't know, taking your kid with you or something. But anyway, it features Good Time and Ready Set Go, produced by Eric Valentine. The vinyl for this hasn't shown up yet. There's like I think an indie store version and a regular version. So we haven't gotten the new album yet on vinyl, but we get the reissue on vinyl. Go figure. So anyway, there's a new Grace Potter. If we don't have the vinyl by Friday, it will probably be here soon. Sometimes you just don't know, right? Jim Croce, it's a new reissue from him. This is I Got a Name. This album is on bone white vinyl. It reached number 2 on the charts and is certified gold, and features top 20 hits, or top 10 hits. I'll Have to Say I Love You in a Song and I Got a Name, plus the top 40 hit Workin' at the Car Wash Blues. It's a very successful album for Jim. He lived in this general area that I'm broadcasting from, and his house is currently under some kind of they're trying to protect it and keep it from getting either torn down or completely changed, because some developer wants to do something with it. So wonderful. Let's see, another reissue. This has been out before on CD. I don't remember seeing it on vinyl, at least not for a while. It might have been out, but it's been a while. Government Mule, Dark Side of the Mule. It's basically Government Mule, Warren Haynes, doing Dark Side of the Moon, which honestly is probably more exciting than the feedback I'm getting from Roger Waters doing Dark Side of the Moon again. The song that he leaked was Money, and boy, it sounds a lot different. I kind of say to people, it really reminds me of and I love Tom Waits and I love Leonard Cohen, but it sounds like if Tom Waits was doing a Leonard Cohen cover of Money, and it doesn't really sound like Roger Waters. So people who have expectations about Roger Waters might be a little bit like, what is this? So, well, we'll find out when the album comes out in October. Slipknot live at Madison Square Garden. This is the first time ever on vinyl, and what year this was from? 2009. If I read the thing there. Yeah, well, there's a maggot on the back or something like that. Of course, it's very Slipknotty. But Anyway, new live record from Slipknot. It's been out before, but not on vinyl. And same for this, to going from one extreme to the other. Erasure, um, my favorite pop bands of the 80s. I mean, I don't know, really a band, duo. Very best of Always. Always the very best of. This is the 2023 edition. They reissued most of their studio albums like 5 years ago and didn't ever put out a best of or an updated best of. So this is the 2023 vinyl edition, black heavyweight vinyl with gatefold sleeve. So track listing pretty much has most of their big hits and the ones that you would want or know, and it actually goes up to sort of recent stuff too. But I would say, sometimes people know Chains of Love and A Little Respect quite a bit. Stop, Drama, Blue Savannah, Chorus, Take a Chance on Me, their ABBA cover, Love to Hate You Always. Yeah, really some great, great songs, I think. Okay, yet another reissue. This is the Best of Two Tone. I love how they've been paying a lot of attention to some of the original ska stuff on Two Tone lately, and this is a 2 LP edition. I don't think it's out on CD this time. I didn't see that, but this is a limited edition 2 LP clear vinyl. Features the specials, the selector, the beat, English beat, Body Snatchers, Madness, and Rico. So great group of artists. I mean, Two Tone was probably the preeminent ska label of the time, in my opinion. Love the British ska though. Game Theory. This is a reissue of early EPs called Dead Center. This is now on vinyl. Compiles selected tracks from the EPs, pointed accounts of people you know, and Distortion, plus loads of bonus tracks. Alright, it's a 2 LP. That's hard to read too. Sometimes with the glare. Anyway, they do Mother of Pearl, which I think is a Roxy Music cover. Radio Free Europe, live. It's an REM cover. Yeah, so that looks pretty cool. I mean, Game Theory are a band that they definitely have a cult following, and their records are incredibly hard to get. It's kind of not fair, actually. Robin Trower, twice removed from Yesterday. So I think most people think of Trower and they think Procol Harum or Bridge of Sighs or whatever. And this was a pretty big album for him, too. 50th Anniversary Deluxe Edition includes unreleased tracks and BBC sessions, 2 LP heavyweight vinyl. Yeah, there's a lot of kind of extra alternate stuff there on record too. Looks like there's a John Peel session on side 4 actually, which is kind of cool. Let's see, get winding down here. Tell Everybody. This is 21st Century Juke Joint Blues from Easy Eye Sound. Easy Eye Sound being Dan Auerbach's record label, Dan of the Black Keys. Limited edition indie record store exclusive gray marble vinyl featuring Robert Finley, Nat Myers, R.L. Boyce, Stan Auerbach, Black Keys, etc., etc. Kind of see there. This is more of a bluesy record. And they're all the people. All right. Some CDs that I sort of wanted to mention. I mentioned the Grace Potter already. There's a vinyl coming of this. I just don't have it yet. Aerosmith Greatest Hits. This is sort of a comprehensive greatest hits. I feel like they've done some of those before, but this one includes like all of the early Columbia stuff, all the Geffen stuff, and then their return to Columbia. So it ends with like Pink and Don't Want to Miss a Thing. There is a box set for this too, which is like $150 or more. I think that the indie stores just get like a black vinyl and Walmart gets some kind of I don't know. It's like are we competing against Walmart? That's great. So anyway, they could at least release it everywhere and give people the opportunity to decide where they want to buy it, I suppose. But let's see, other things coming out. A new Idina Menzel, she of the Adele Dazeem fame now. Um, she of the Wicked Broadway sort of fame, and this sort of seems like it might be kind of a dance record. I'm guessing from the mirror ball on the back, and she has a Nile Rodgers guest star on there. I don't know. She doesn't have too many like albums outside of Broadway stuff, so that might be kind of interesting to at least hear. Um, Gregory Alan Isakov, his new record, and I don't know if I can even read it. Appaloosa Bones. Sort of a singer songwriter. Let's see. Victor Vaughn. This is an MF Doom reissue on CD. It's been out on vinyl for Record Store Day. A lot of people don't realize that Victor Vaughn is MF Doom. And it's called Vaudeville Villain. Uncle Acid and the Deadbeats Slaughter on First Avenue. And this is on Rise Above. This is a double LP or double CD too. I don't know. This might be a live record. I'm not really sure. It kind of looks like it from the cover art. I don't know enough about their catalog to tell you whether or not. Richard Wright of Pink Floyd, Rick Wright, remixed. The album's called Wet Dreams. Sorry, remixed and remastered by Steven Wilson. So you get a Porcupine Tree remix reissue there. But that's mostly like keyboard instrumental, I believe. And the last one here, Abbey Road Reimagined, a tribute to the Beatles. And this features Come Together as the first track, featuring Durga McBroom, Jackie Lomax, and Snowy White. I know Durga was in Blue Pearl in the early 90s. She has an incredible soul voice. This features people like Sonny Landreth, Roger Joseph Manning Jr., let's see, Brian Auger, I don't know how you say that, Arthur Brown, Patrick Moraz, Rebecca Pidgeon, Graham Bonnet, Rick Wakeman. It's one of those sort of like, you get a hodgepodge. Steve Hillage, Terry Reid does Golden Slumbers on here. I don't know if there's a vinyl for this yet. There might be. But anyway, Abbey Road Reimagined. That's on Cleopatra. So Cleopatra is pretty good about like throwing a lot of things together and saying, here, this is a release. I don't know how like studied they are and like are trying to get like, they have some big names on there though, but more like I would say like legacy type acts. So anyway, all right. So every week I've been trying to kind of give you guys like, this is my recommend of the week or whatever. And I realized that I did so many of my like, these are my go-to albums. I think I listed like 28. Then I'm like, oh no, now I don't have anything to recommend. So that's not really the case. I can always think of something. I could actually recommend that, which is amazing. The new Sparks album, The Girl is Crying in Her Latte. Now, when I say amazing, I mean, you have to take that with a grain of salt that's very amazing in its world of music. It's wonderful. It's humorous. It's dark at times. But it's for a band that's been around for 55 years, it's pretty great. Two brothers, right? And sort of assorted band members. But I thought today, I'll talk more about that probably at some other point in the future. Today I sort of, because I was sort of inspired by Talking Heads and inspired by the reissue of Stop Making Sense, and by the fact that I also included Remain in Light in one of my videos as a go-to album for me, I thought I really wanted to say something about this album, Talking Heads' Fear of Music. And this is the album that came right before Remain in Light, 1979. You can see this great cover art it's black and it's kind of raised sort of like the gratings on like metal grates that people would walk across in like cityscapes. And there's really nothing on the back except for this sort of grating thing. And Jerry Harrison, the keyboard player and guitarist, designed the cover, and it was produced by Brian Eno and Talking Heads. So this is sort of like the era that Eno really, he kind of joined a little bit or helped them out with I think with a little with the album before, more songs, but maybe not. But this one is full on like Brian Eno kind of really becomes sort of the ancillary fifth member of the band in a way. And it's kind of great because the album is a little bit, they've been making albums so quickly. Their first album was 77, and then More Songs was 78. And then this one was very quick in like 79. And David Byrne sort of was like, we don't want to be just a singles band. And the interesting thing about that is they really didn't have a major hit single. They got radio play here and there, but it wasn't until really Burning Down the House that they had like a song that really hit the charts in like, what is that, 83, I think, 82, 83. So, yeah, so this is still fairly early Talking Heads, Fear of Music. And I love the title too. Fear of Music is pretty like, maybe it sounds ludicrous, but it's probably, there's a lot of stuff here that on sort of like first glance, it seems sort of, oh, it's not so heavy. And then you realize like there's some pretty heavy stuff going on in here. Now, the first track, Izimbra, is sort of like kind of it's not really a throwaway, but it has a lot of sort of chanted vocals in this kind of like odd, it's not even, I don't know if it's technically a language even, maybe it is, but it's kind of more of like a chant, like call and response type song. And I think the thing to keep in mind about this album is that the rhythmic elements of it are so detailed and interesting. It's like you hear a lot of the African influence and the influences of what they were hearing in the city, in New York, sort of kind of combining with like their sort of art school punk rock backgrounds. So after that track, there's a few sort of like grower songs in here. I think Mind is really an interesting song. It's got kind of a cool groove to it. And it's a little sort of more, I don't know, kind of like thoughtful. Well, obviously because you can understand the lyrics, but and a little more like got kind of a dance beat to it and less sort of just a driving type song. Paper is a love song, I guess, to paper, is sort of like the paper that you'd be writing a song on. Cities kind of ended up being more of a track that got played more and sort of a little catchier. And that song ended up being one of the songs that was added back to the recent Stop Making Sense double album. Life During Wartime, I mentioned, that's the song that a lot of people, if they heard one song from this album that they would totally recognize, if they heard David Byrne singing, "This ain't no disco, this ain't no party, this ain't no disco, this ain't no fooling around," that's Life During Wartime. And I think that song is very interesting because it's kind of observational and sort of about like what he's experiencing. There's all this terrible stuff going on in the world, yet it's sort of like from a distance you're kind of like experiencing your own life and reading about it, yet there's horrible things happening. And yeah, it's kind of interesting. So, and then the second half, I think Air is a really incredible song. I know I skipped Memories Can't Wait, that's a great song too. Air is a really great song. It's got more of kind of a like a quirky kind of floaty Bowie-esque quality to it. And of course Heaven is a really great song, very deep, kind of, I don't know, I feel like there have been some great cover versions of that too. I can't remember who does them, but they're out there. And then a couple more interesting songs, Animals, electric guitar, and it sort of wraps up with Drugs, which is a kind of a low key sort of, almost like a downer at the end of the album, but it sort of kind of foreshadows. A lot of these songs actually really foreshadow what's going to happen with Remain in Light. And Drugs also got a very interesting remake on a This Mortal Coil album called Filigree and Shadow, where they actually tried to put more of a dance beat to it and sort of manipulate the female singer's vocals and all. And so, anyway, that's the whole album is really like kind of a journey sort of songs. It's worth checking out. I feel like this era of their albums are sort of meticulously crafted and laid out, and they do sort of try to tell a kind of a story of what they're going on. I didn't realize that until I was sort of reading about this album that it was pretty much recorded the basic tracks in 2 days. Uh, so they'd really been sort of working these tracks out and then went in and played them. And then it took a little more time with like overdubs and stuff like that. But that's pretty incredible to think about, because things tend to not be so immediate now, and they don't try to necessarily get the spontaneity. And I think that's part of the reason that it does feel so special, is that there's an energy to it and a vitality and life that a lot of more current records don't always get, because they're too overthought, too overworked. And yet it feels sort of like it's perfect the way it is, and I wouldn't really change anything about this album. It ended up being ranked as like the 30th most important album of the 70s on some lists. I think Melody Maker actually named it their album of the year. So it's worth hearing. I don't know if it's the first album that necessarily people who are interested in Talking Heads should go to. I would say either probably Stop Making Sense, the live record, or maybe Speaking in Tongues first. Or if you want to get a little more adventurous, maybe Remain in Light. But Fear of Music, it's an album that I came to later in my listening. I didn't really get into Talking Heads until really around Burning Down the House and Speaking in Tongues. Being a kid living in the middle of the country of the US, really it was only like the weird kids that were listening to Talking Heads, the kids that had been transplanted from other parts of the country, whether it was like through their military families or whatever. I remember people from LA and New York, like those places knew more about them. And I thought, well, this is a quirky band. And then I kind of was intrigued by them and started like working my way back. And Fear of Music ended up being one of my favorites, and something that I ended up playing a lot. And now I think I play it more even now than I probably played back then, because I didn't wear it out at the time. I think if you were there on the ground level and you were really into Talking Heads, you know what a great album it is, but maybe you are so familiar with it that you don't play it quite as much. So it's interesting how we all come to music from different perspectives, journeys, time frames. It's such a discovery of a time situation. So anyway, my recommendation for this week, check out Talking Heads' Fear of Music if you have not, and many of you have. So, but I figure it deserves a mention. All right, thank you so much for joining me again, guys. And see, it's a little shorter this week. And next week, another big release week, bigger than this, I think. And I don't know, especially when we get into September. Actually, next week is about the same. But September 1st and 8th and 15th, those are big weeks. So be prepared for longer videos, probably. Or I may just not have to do. I may have to leave out my recommends for a couple of weeks, because there are going to be a lot of records. So, all right, thank you. Have a wonderful weekend, and get out and support your local record shops. Us being one of them. All right, take care, and see you soon.